In the Christian calendar, this week is known as Trans-figuration Sunday. And the word trans, I think, is something we have to spend a lot of time with because there's a lot of hate out there towards the trans community. And this is not only non-biblical, it's non-Christian. We talked about that a little bit in the Teen Talk a couple of weeks ago about love and hate. First of all, I want to identify I am a cis-het woman. Anything I know about the queer and trans community is because I've got wonderful friends who have enlightened me, answered my questions, no matter how ridiculous they might have been, challenged me, corrected me when I've been wrong. And it's not their job, but they've done that. So anything I have to say on the situation is purely because I've been invited into it as an observer. It's not my lived experience. But trans, I want to spend a couple of minutes talking about because when we talk about the queer community, trans often gets left behind, especially when we're talking about biblical references and where in the Bible is there any reference of trans. Well, there might not be any reference of transgender. I'm not well enough read in it to make that kind of assumption. But what we do have this morning is a quintessential trans moment. Transfiguration, change of the embodiment, the figure of Jesus. The disciples are there watching Jesus as he is separated out from Elijah and Moses and identified as the beloved, as the Christ. In trans culture, trans world, when it has to snap up against cis culture and assumptions of keeping everything static. There's a tension there that the Christian church gets in the middle of. It assumes that because we don't recognize it, that it's not beloved by God, that it's not wanted by God. And that's not factual at all. Being trans in a biblical context means to change. And even if you are not trans, or identify in the queer spectrum at all, you can still be transformed. One of the reasons it's put at this point in our liturgical year, if you look at the calendar, we're just about to go from the green Sundays to the purple Sundays. The purple starts Lent. And we have an opportunity right before Lent starts to look at ourselves and see what we want to change. We can transform. We can look at faith differently. We can Google search and talk about it and read about it and just spend time kind of getting different ideas. So often the media only presents one idea of Christianity, and unfortunately it's been dominated by hate groups, and that's a struggle that all of us in ministry are trying to fight against, because that's not the message. That is not the place of Christ in society, but that's often been assumed by folks. We have an opportunity with the story this Sunday to talk about change and transformation, and maybe we can even change the conversation around us. You don't have to be a church attending Christian all the time to be considered under the Christ umbrella and have an opportunity to understand Jesus and study and worship. The community is important, absolutely is important. Maybe church building isn't where you'll find that, but you can find it someplace else. And it's an opportunity for people to share their understanding of what community can be, about what church can be. We can transform our gathering spaces. So the word trans comes up numerous times. It's not just about identity on the outside, it's about identity on the inside. We can make a difference. We can be different, whether regardless of where cis, het, non-binary, queer spectrum, however we identify, each of us is still at our core a human being, and as humans we can change. And the story reminds us Jesus changed. He was still Jesus. Nothing changed about his personality. He was always who he was going to be. But the story gives us an opportunity for outsiders to see what that transformation is. This is a calling. It's an opportunity for outsiders to see our change too. To be Christian in the world does not mean we don't swear from time to time, and don't drink, and stay away from marijuana, and don't practice safe sex or any of those kind of things. That's getting caught up in a lot of behavior that might be self-destructive, might not be, but it's not a defining characteristic of our Christian faith. Our Christian faith tells us we can change, and we can make the world change. We can make the world better. So on this Trans-figuration Sunday, why not spend some time looking at what you can do to change? What you can do that shines the light of Christ through you so that other people recognize it? What is it going to take for you? It can be something really tiny, it can be something momentous. But what is it that you want to change? And know that God is part of that change, because that's the other part of this. Jesus didn't just do this and carry on. God was intimately involved. And after Jesus changed, God said, "This is Jesus' authentic self." So God is involved with our change. Find your authentic self. You can do it in the Christian message because there is room for everyone there. All of us are part of changing the world.